podcast. My name is William Ezel, and today we have my mock draft, my final mock draft 3.0. Before we get into this, I gotta preface that this is what I would do if I was each GM for all 32 teams. So this is not what I think will happen, this is what I think should happen. So I did this last year with my mock draft, because this is a better indicator of how you are as a talent evaluator, and I think that's more important in a mock draft. So, if you want to skip to just see what your team's drafted, I'll put each team's selections and the entire list in the description below if you want to just check that out. But if you want to get into my description of each player, I'm going to start right into this with the first overall pick in Joe Burrow. And I cannot describe how special this kid is. The only flaw people can find with this man is that he is 23 and had great talent. Well, guess what? He's going to the NFL where he has better talent. And you might be saying, oh, but the Bengals stink. They have better talent than the LSU Tigers. They have A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd. They've got Jonah Williams coming back. They've got a great offense, great offensive personnel. My only question with this fit is the coach. With Joe Burrow, he has great composure. He's got amazing pocket presence, and he's got a great moxie. The things that make a great quarterback is what Joe Burrow possesses. The ability to make a play when the play breaks down. That was his forte last year. He exemplified this over and over again in the biggest games. Against Georgia, where he had that Heisman play where he evaded 5 guys and threw it to Justin Jefferson for a 50-yard dime. He just has great touch. He has great ability to read defenses and read space. He has a great pocket presence. My comp for him is Drew Brees with Gardner Minshew's legs, because what this man can do with his arm and in the pocket is absolutely phenomenal. And if the Bengals pass on Joe Burrow, or if they let anyone trade up for it, this will be the most... I cannot describe how bad of a trade that would be. Joe Burrow has to be the number 1 overall pick. And going to the second selection, I have our first trade. Miami trading up to get the best player available. Some say the best player in this draft. I still think I take into care of positional value. So he's my second player on my big board. It is Chase Young. The thing with the Dolphins is they're not ready to open their Super Bowl window. When you draft a quarterback, you have 4 to 5 years of cheap rookie contract. And when you have that, you open up your window to win a Super Bowl. We saw this with the Rams getting there with Jared Goff. We saw this with the Seahawks getting there with Russell Wilson. We saw this with Patrick Mahomes. When you have a quarterback, you have to maximize his rookie contract. And the Dolphins are not ready to do that. So I have them taking Chase Young and building this defense for Brian Flores. B-Flow is going to love Chase Young. This defense is going to become quite formidable. The thing with the Dolphins is they only have 4 players graded above average. They need a difference maker. So trading away picks 5 and 18 for the second selection to get Chase Young is going to turn around this team, because Chase Young is the best defensive prospect on par, if not better than Myles Garrett. Going to the third pick, we have the Detroit Lions taking Isaiah Simmons. And this is a special talent. People can criticize him for being too positionless. And that, you can't knock a guy for having too much versatility, because this guy can play every position great. He's played over 100 snaps at 6 positions. He is that kind of special, and he's great at all of them. And with Detroit, he can fill all of those holes on the defense they have immediately. And I think that you need to maximize Isaiah Simmons' talents with a proper coach. And sure, Matt Patricia may not be the best head coach, but he is a defensive genius. And if Isaiah Simmons is going to get the most out of his talents, Detroit is going to be a perfect spot. So that's why I have Detroit picking him, because he maximizes his talents, Matt Patricia does, and he's may not be my best player available, but they don't have a pressing need at offensive tackle. Then we have the Giants sticking at 4, and they take Jedrick Wills, the tackle from Alabama, and he is by far and away the best tackle in this class. He has the highest floor, maybe arguably with Andrew Thomas, but I think he's even better. He's more fundamentally sound, and he has a much higher ceiling. He might be the most complete tackle prospect in this draft, and he is a phenomenal prospect. So getting Jedrick Wills at 4, they need to protect their golden goose and Daniel Jones. And I'll admit, I was wrong. I had Daniel Jones as a second-round player. He proved me absolutely wrong. And they need to protect him because he was under duress the entire year last year. I mean, that contributed to some of his fumbles. I mean, some of that was himself as well. But he needs some pressure because Mike Rimmers and Nate Solder did not get it done last year. And now, putting him alongside Nate Solder, it'll be a all-right offensive line. And I think that the Giants, if they want to do anything, they got to address their offensive line first because you don't want to end up like Deshaun Watson. I mean, not yet, but he's going to end that way because poor Deshaun Watson or Andrew Luck. Going to number 5, this was a very, very difficult decision. It came down between Jeff Okudah and Tristan Wirfs. But my thinking was that they just traded away Quentin Dunbar, and this is the best player available for me, so taking Jeff Okudah was an easy decision. My thought with taking Wirfs is that if you have Dwayne Haskins, a quarterback who has a long-developing throw, you are going to need to protect him. And trading away Trent Williams, what they need to do before anything worse happens, because he's going to lose more and more value. I think they really need to solidify their line, but I just couldn't justify passing on Jeff Okudah at 5. Going to number 6, I have my first shocker of the draft, Jordan Love going to 6. I think he might have the most upside of any quarterback in this draft. He has elite traits. He has elite arm. He can make throws from any arm position, which is unique to him and Pat Mahomes, and that's how he gets that comparison. I think that comparison is unfair. I don't love doing comps because it puts unfair pressure on players, and I think that it's just something that the media latches onto, which can arguably hurt players' careers. So I'm not a big fan of comps, but I can see how Pat Mahomes gets linked to him. And he can make off-balance throws, and he has incredible touch. People are going to look to his 17 interceptions, and yes, I watched the film. I saw all of them. There are some very bad interceptions where he just doesn't read the defense. But the thing is, last year, he lost his head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, running back coach, wide receiver coach, strength coach, and 9 offensive starters, including Darwin Thompson, an NFL running back, and his entire offensive line. He had nothing left to work with. And this is one of my favorite stats when talking about Jordan Love. When he targeted a receiver with 1 step or more of separation, Love had 23 big-time throws, second most, and only had 2 turnover-worthy plays. This just shows that when he has a player who's marginally open, which his players, COC Mariner and other in company, could not get done, he could find a way to get it in there. His touch, his accuracy was just great, and I kind of compare this to what Drew Lock had last year. He was forcing too many throws because he had bad weaponry around him, and he was left to do the entire load of the offense. And he limited his turnovers when he came to the NFL. Why is that? Because he had better talent around him and didn't have to force everything himself. And he was afforded the luxury to sit for most of the year. And having Tyrod Taylor, this team is ready to win now. They have the top 5 defense without Derwin James last year, and they have good offensive weapons. Jordan Love is poised with this great team. This is a great fit for him. I think that Jordan Love, if he goes to the Chargers, will have a great rivalry. Him, Locke, Mahomes. This will be an exciting division to watch going forward. Next, we have a second trade. Carolina sends pick 7 to the Jets for pick 11 and 68. And they're trying to get ahead of Jacksonville and Arizona and Cleveland to take the second best tackle available and the best player available in Tristan Wirfs. With Tristan Wirfs, I think that the Jets need someone to protect Darnold because Darnold has been under fire because he could not catch a break either. And I think that if you want to build a team, you need to get offensive line help. And George Fant is not going to get that done. Their offensive line is dismal. They signed Fletcher Alsamele, who was a good signing last year, but managed to mess that up and cut him. I think that this team needs to address tackle. If they don't, Sam Darnold will not have a good career because a quarterback is not a one-man team. He needs talent around him, and they need to get a tackle. Going on to pick 8, it's Javon, Kinlaw, the monster of South Carolina. And just watching film of Tua against South Carolina, you can just see how explosive he is. He just runs over players, and he is just a much better and more complete pass rusher than Derrick Brown is. And I'll get to the flaws of Derrick Brown when I get to him. But Javon Kinlaw is a great pass rusher. He is raw, and he is talented, and he is a monster. And Arizona needs all the defensive help they can get, and getting a top 5 talent, in my opinion, in Javon Kinlaw is going to solve a lot of their defensive problems. Going to Jacksonville, and I want to see Gardner Minshew have some fun, so I have them taking the best receiver available in Jeudy. Jeudy is a crafty route runner who doesn't have one amazing elite quality or intangible. He is just a solid, great all-around player, and his separation from his route running is unique, and he just thrusts his leg in the ground and just magically gets separation. And just watching him is just fun to watch. He is a great prospect, and I think that him along with DJ Shark will be a great combination for Minshew. And I think that if they want to maximize Minshew's talents, which he was drafted in the 6th round for a reason, Jeudy is going to be a fun option. And we've got a blockbuster trade here. We've got the New England Patriots trading up, sending a future 2 and pick 23 to the analytically driven Browns for pick 10. The Browns trade out this pick because they don't have a tackle with significant value available, and they believe in taking only the blue chip players or taking more picks. So this makes sense both for what they would do and what I think they should do, because I don't think Andrew Thomas is worthy of that 10th selection. So the Patriots trade up and get Tua Tagovailoa. And with Tua, he is a great prospect. He has great accuracy, he is good at progressions, and he has a good personality. And my question with him is his ability to make a play when the play breaks down, and his injury concern. I'm not concerned about if he's going to recover from his hip injury. He's going to be fine from that. It doesn't matter. My problem is he had a broken finger, alleged 2 broken wrists, injuries on both of his ankles, injuries on both of his knees, and add on to that a hip fracture, which is unique. And I think that is a huge problem. He only took 10 sacks last year. He had the best offensive line, or one of the best offensive line, 3 first-round tackles, and he still got injured this many times. Going to an offensive line that's bad in the NFL is going to kill him. People really need to look at the risks on Tua, because I don't know if he can stay healthy, because he has a tendency to drift in the pocket when he's clean in the pocket. He has a tendency to drift and get himself into pressure. And there's a reason why he's getting injured this often. People aren't typically injury prone, but he has found himself uniquely in a situation that he's gotten himself injured critically, not minorly, critically on multiple occasions. The only quarterback that's had this many injuries in college is Taysom Hill, and he's had his moment of strength to guide him through that. So we'll have to see what happens to it, but the injury concern is a huge flaw for me, and I think that the Patriots can start Jarrett Stidham, and they have 2 quarterbacks with first-round potential who I think could battle for a great quarterback room. Next, we have pick 11, C.J. Henderson going to the Panthers. And the Panthers need coverage corners, because in a division with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Emmanuel Sanders, and Michael Thomas, having Dante Jackson as your best corner is not going to cut it, and they're just going to get toasted over and over again. This is a position of need. C.J. Henderson is the second best cornerback, and he has incredible talent. He may not have produced great in college, but he was phenomenal against the best talent in Jamar Chase, and I think that he has the ability to shut down big corners and become an island guy for the Panthers. The problem is he didn't produce consistently for Florida, and I think that he is gifted enough physically with his speed and his hips and his fluidity to be a great corner in this league. He has all the talent to do that. And in Carolina, I think that they need to address this position in this draft. Going to the Las Vegas Raiders, we have them taking Chaisson out of LSU. And his production may not have been there for the entire season, but at the last 4 games, he heated up. He was incredible in those last couple games, getting crucial pressures and getting the best quarterbacks in not Jalen Hurts, but Trevor Lawrence, and he was getting great pressure against Andrew Thomas and other great tackles, and he looked great. He was able to beat guys like Jedrick Wills, Alex Leatherwood, or even Andrew Thomas. And being able to beat the best talent is a good indicator of NFL production. And I think Chaisson is gifted enough. And he can even drop into cover. This guy's a unique, versatile prospect who I think Las Vegas will need to covet, because I don't think a defensive line of Maurice Hurst and Max Crosby and Farrell, who they drafted last year, is not going to cut it, because having 14.5 sacks between your two edge rushers is not going to cut it. Caleb Chaisson is going to come in there. He can play outside linebacker. He can play edge. He is a great prospect that Las Vegas is going to need to covet because their defense is poor. Going to the Niners, I don't have them trading out. I have them sticking and taking Justin Jefferson, the second best receiver in my mind in this draft, because he is crafty, he is smart, and on those choice routes, I think he can be lethal in San Francisco, because he has great speed, he has great technique, he has amazing hands that just... The best thing about him is that he snatches the ball out of the air. He doesn't just let it go past. He goes out and gets the ball himself, which is a great skill to have and will be a quarterback's best friend. And people criticize him because he was a 90% slot receiver last year. But he has the ability to win on the outside, and I don't care where your production comes from, because in the NFL, yards are yards, and having 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns, I don't care where you come from the slot, because people do not run one-by-one sets anymore. It is mostly 11 personnel, and he is going to be used effectively, and I think in San Francisco alongside Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, I think he can be a very lethal prospect. Moving to Tampa Bay, and they take the most NFL-ready tackle, and Andrew Thomas. I think that with this pick, this could not have gone any better at Tampa Bay, because they need tackle. The Tampa Bay Gronkineers are going to need someone to protect Tom Brady on the left side, because they might have good interiors with Ryan Jensen and Ali Marpet, but they're going to need to protect the outside, because Tom Brady hates getting sacked. He'd rather just sit down, fall down, and take a sack. He does not like getting hit, because he's 43, and rightfully so. He one hit, like Peyton Manning, who tore his quad, in your career, you fall off a cliff and you're done. So he knows how to take care of his body, and Andrew Thomas is one of the best tackles at doing that. My problem with him is that I can see him becoming just a very average NFL player. And I think that going to Tampa Bay, they need immediate production with this small window they have with Tom Brady, and Andrew Thomas provides that. With pick 15, we have Denzel Mims, and I really like his technique, but people criticize him for his small route tree or what he did at Baylor or his film. But if you look at his film, he wasn't asked to do that much. He ran mainly a back shoulder fades, his slant, or a go route. And he was great at that. He was great on the back shoulder fade. He has great physicality, great speed, great hands, and I think he has all the physical tools to be a great NFL receiver. He showed in the Senior Bowl that he has the ability to learn. He learned an entire route tree. He's not a limited receiver. He has the entire route tree open to him. And people will look for flaws just like they look for DK Metcalf, because he can't be that good. A guy 6'4" with 4.3 speed can't be that good. But Denzel Mims is that good. And I think that going to Denver alongside Cortland Sutton will be a great target for my guy Drew Lock. Going to 16, I have the Falcons pairing a Deion Jones with another LSU cover linebacker and Patrick Queen. Because outside of Deion Jones, their linebacking core is very poor. And I think that drafting him is going to address a lot of their needs on defense, because they invested a lot of money with Dante Fowler and Tad McKinley up front. And I think that they are going to need to address either the corner position, which I don't have high enough value on, or they're going to need to address someone like a off-ball linebacker. Patrick Queen is the best off-ball linebacker available. He's great in coverage, and in a pass-heavy division is going to be absolutely crucial. So I think going to the Falcons is a great fit for him. I don't see another player close to my big board that they would take. They could take a guard, but I don't value a guard high enough here. So I think that selecting Patrick Queen here is a shutdown pick. He was absolutely incredible. People could criticize him because he only had 1 year of production at LSU, but this guy is the real deal. He is phenomenal in coverage, and he is going to make this Falcons defense immediately better. Moving on to pick 17, we have the Dallas Cowboys. And I've been taking a little bit of an interesting prospect. I've been taking Curtis Weaver. And he has a very wide range. He can go anywhere from here to Dallas, where people also think he can go in the 4th round. And I just don't understand that, because he has the production at Boise State, and he has incredible bend. He has bend that is beyond belief. People look at him and he doesn't look like a defensive end, so people won't draft one. But he has great technique, he has great production, and he has great bend. This will make him a great pass rusher in this very, very stout Dallas defense, and I think that this is going to be a great pick. Moving on to pick 18, we have the Washington Redskins. With the pick they acquired the Dolphins, drafting CeeDee Lamb. And as I said, they need to get help for Dwayne Haskins, and since they didn't get that the 5th pick, getting CeeDee Lamb here, giving him another receiver, is going to be incredibly valuable. But I don't know why CeeDee Lamb is valued as the number 1 receiver. He's my receiver number 4 in this class, because I don't know if he can win against press coverage. All of his good snaps against LSU, the only real team that could cover that he played, were against zone coverage. And when he was matched up with Stingley in man-to-man coverage or Christian Fulton, it did not end the best of ways for CeeDee Lamb. Most of his highlights are either he's wide open, no one within 10 feet of him, and he runs for 70 yards, or a great contested catch deep ball. And that contested catch ability is what makes him my receiver number 4. And with pairing with a guy like Dwayne Haskins, who does like to throw it downfield with great accuracy, CeeDee Lamb could be a very, very lethal partner to Terry McLaurin. Going to pick 19, I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Derrick Brown. I think Derrick Brown is a monster, 320 pounds, and he is an incredible run blocker, or run stuffer. But the thing with run stuffing is that it's not that valuable. That's the reason why Damon Harrison's still in free agency, and you can get Damon Harrison pretty easily. What you covet is a pass-rushing defensive interior, and Derrick Brown is capable but not exceptional at that skill. He is an absolute monster in the run game. And paired with Maurice Hurst, I think he can be a great player, solidifying this defensive line with Chaisson, doubling down on that defensive line. I think Las Vegas is going to have a mean front 4 in a division where you need to get pressure on some of the great quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes. Going to pick 20, I have the Jaguars selecting Antoine Winfield Jr. With Antoine Winfield, they definitely need a safety, because if you look at their safety position, it is just not good. And Antoine Winfield Jr. is my best safety available, and he has got all the ability to play both safety positions, and he is exceptional. There's a reason why he is one of the best players available in this draft, and he picked up that heritage that his father had, Antoine Winfield Sr. And then Harrison, number 36, the Jaguars, is just not that good for free safety, though he can even replace Wilson, the strong side safety. So I think that this is a position of need for them. I think that they must address this in this draft, and getting the best safety available at 20 is a very, very good pick for them. Moving on, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have them taking the 5th receiver in the 1st round, in Laviska Shenault. I think that Laviska Shenault is a very, very promising player. And his after-the-catch ability is something that's unmatched in this class, but he has a lot of injury concerns. He got flagged for a foot fracture at the combine, and he's a very quiet guy. I love his humility, his after-the-catch ability. I just think that he's a great person and a great prospect. I think that in an offense like the Eagles, having a guy that can take a slant and craft his way around for an extra 5 yards is going to be something very valuable that they were trying to get when they traded for Golden Tate, but he just didn't deliver. Laviska Shenault can do that and much more, because he's just a crafty guy. And my problem with him is people like NFL stuff will look at his hair and be like, oh, he's got long hair. People will talk about his hair. But the thing is that his hair gives him his strength. It's something that he does to represent his father, who died early. He's a very quiet guy because of that, and he is a very humble guy. I think Laviska Shenault is a great prospect. I think that the Eagles' offense is going to thrive. It's something that's being slept on because of injury concerns. Going to Minnesota, and they need to replace the corner position after Xavier Rhodes lost all of his talent a couple of years ago. Because, I mean, Will Hughes at a UCF is a capable prospect, but that's about it at the corner position. So they need to address this, and Jeff Gladney at TCU, a physical, feisty, small corner who's very fast, is going to be a great prospect. I think he has the ability to become an island corner, and if you want to draft a cornerback high in the first round, having that ability to become an island guy is going to be crucial. I think that he is going to be great in this Minnesota defense under Zimmer, and I think that having the best cornerback available makes most sense at 22. I'm going to the Cleveland Browns at 23 after they traded with the Patriots. I've been taking Jordan Elliott. I think that Jordan Elliott's a guy that's being slept on a lot. He was phenomenal at Missouri, and just because he was on a terrible Missouri team, he's going to get overlooked like Drew Lock was last year, falling to pick 46. I think that Jordan Elliott had some of the most dominant games last year, and he looked incredible. And I think that completing a great D-line with Myles Garrett, Sean Richardson, and Olivier Vernon will give a formidable front forward to the Cleveland Browns. And I could see them taking tackle here, so I could have had them taking Josh Jones, but taking the best player available in a position of need made the most sense to me. We have another trade here in the Indianapolis Colts, trading up pick 34 and 44 to the New Orleans Saints for pick 24 and pick 88 to pick Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's an inherently flawed quarterback, but he does have the arm strength and the size to become a very good NFL quarterback. And people will look at him because he looks like a Madden generated player, a guy that you play with to start a career at quarterback. He looks like a quintessential quarterback prospect, but he's really flawed. He is very hesitant to throw, and most of his throws come within 5 yards of line of scrimmage, with around 50% being within that 5-yard range. He had the second most screen passes of any quarterback, and he just isn't that great of a prospect. And if you want to watch or you see more Justin Herbert analysis, I have a film preview coming up on him. But he's just an indecisive decision maker who's run first when the play breaks down, which isn't going to serve him well in the NFL. And he just doesn't have great pocket presence and really needs to be developed. But he can sit behind Phillip Rivers for this year, and since they don't have a quarterback on the roster for next year, getting a guy with high upside is going to be incredibly valuable for the Indianapolis Colts. Moving on to pick 25, the Minnesota Vikings are back on the clock, and I've been taking a incredibly massive guy in Robert Hunt. 6'5", 323 pounds. He can play both offensive line spots. He can play offensive tackle, offensive guard. I think that he is just a man mover. And going into a zone run scheme like the Vikings have, getting a guy like Robert Hunt that can move people and get to the second layer is going to be incredibly crucial for them. And having a very, very bad offensive line, they need this pick badly. I think that this is a good value, and I think that Robert Hunt is one of the sleepers of this draft, and I think that going to Minnesota will be a perfect fit for him. Moving on, I have picked 26, going back to the Miami Dolphins, selecting Xavier McKinney. And this is a very big need for this team, and I don't think that many people argue that they have a lot of flaws on the team. As I said, only 4 players graded above average, with Xavier Howland, Byron Jones, Devontae Parker, and Kyle Van Noy, 2 of whom were signed in free agency. And getting a safety like Xavier McKinney that can do it all, play slot corner and free safety, is going to be really important for them to thrive as an organization. And I think that this pick is one step closer to completing their defense, because Corbett and McCain are just not good safeties. Moving on to pick 27, we had the Seattle Seahawks taking Mekhi Becton. And this is his floor. There's no way he's getting past this pick, because getting an offensive lineman that is a mauler like Mekhi Becton is an absolute highlight reel to watch. But he's very flawed and needs a lot of work in the offensive pass. Needs a lot of work. A lot of work. He's not the greatest technically, but he's 6'7", 300 pounds. And people are going to look at his size and frame and be, this guy's a great offensive tackle, but he is flawed. And going to Seattle, where he can learn under Dwayne Brown, and protecting Russell Wilson is going to be a great fit for him. This can help him now, as he can play guard immediately, and he can replace Dwayne Brown when he retires in the next couple of years. Going to pick 29, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Tyler Johnson, receiver out of Minnesota. And this is another guy that people peg as a slot receiver that can't play inside slot. But I don't care where your production comes from as long as you get yards. And his film is electric. He is one of the most phenomenal players, both with his hands, with his feet. He's got incredible body control, and he is a blazing fast guy. I think that people are sleeping on him for no apparent reason at all. People are saying that he's got locker room issues or he's just not a nice guy, but all Minnesota players refute that. He just looks like a phenomenal prospect, and with Corey Davis's contract coming up, they just can't afford to pay a middling receiver like that. So getting Tyler Johnson to pair with A.J. Brown will be a great combination. Going to number 30 with Green Bay Packers, its best player available, filling Brian Bulaga's hole, and Josh Jones. He has proven production in college all 4 years, and is just a great prospect. I think that going to Green Bay and partnering alongside David Bakhtiari is going to be crucial for Aaron Rodgers in his latter stages of his career. I think that drafting him is going to be an immediate impact on their offensive line and will help them win the division again. Going to the penultimate pick of the first round, we have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Lloyd Cushenberry, center out of LSU. And again, he's just like Robert Hunt in the fact that he's a man mover, an absolute monster. Going into a zone run scheme into the San Francisco 49ers and being able to get to that second layer is going to be crucial for Kyle Shanahan and the rest of the team. Going to the final pick, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Willie Gay Jr. And he's got some off-the-field concerns, punching a backup quarterback in Mississippi State and cheating on his chemistry test. But in the interview process, he seems to have smashed away from what all of the reports are saying. And in coverage, which Chiefs desperately need, he is a great coverage linebacker. And outside of maybe Isaiah Simmons, he could be the second or third best coverage linebacker in this class, for being a massive addition to this team, because on defense they need to bolster up after losing Kendall Fuller. This team is not great coverage-wise, but they stepped it up last year before their Super Bowl run, and this is going to help the Super Bowl champs go on a title defense run. Moving into the second round, Cincinnati is going to help protect Joe Burrow with their first pick, getting Netanya Muti out of Fresno State. This guy is an absolute monster on the offensive line. He has highlight reels better than skilled position players with the way he moves on at offensive guard. He is an absolute monster who does have injury concern, but when he is healthy, he is an absolutely incredible prospect who I think Cincinnati is going to love next to Jonah Williams and Michael Jordan. I think that this is going to be a great pick, helping protect Joe Burrow for the future. Going to New Orleans after trading back, I have them taking Jonathan Taylor, running back in Wisconsin. This guy is a top 20 player in my mind. I think it could be a top 10 player, but the running back position is just not valuable. But the thing is he is replacing Alvin Kamara because they cannot afford to pay him with contracts like Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk coming up in the future. They just can't afford to pay a guy like Alvin Kamara. So addressing this early and getting out ahead of it would be a very proactive move, who can also help in the beginning because Jonathan Taylor is an incredibly productive player. 6,000 yards in 3 years in college is something unheard of. He is on par with Saquon Barkley, I believe, as a prospect. He is absolutely incredible in the run game. I don't know how people can value him as a second or third best running back in this class. He is can't miss. Going on to the charts at 37, I've been taking Ashton Davis out of Cal. And originally, I was very low on him, having him in the 70s or 80s. But when I watched his film against Justin Herbert, I saw how much of a dog this guy, having a track background. And he's a very instinctual player. I think that at the safety position, having instincts and speed is great. He lurked Justin Herbert on one throw, and he absolutely lit up a receiver on another. I think Ashton Davis is someone being slept on. He is a certified sleeper. I think that Ashton Davis can do a great job filling in right next to Derwin James, creating the most lethal defense in the league. I think that no one can touch that defense. Having guys like Bosa and Melvin Ingram next to their first-round draft pick last year, alongside Linval Joseph, Chris Harris, Desmond King, Casey Hayward. This team is going to be incredible next year. Their defense was already top 5 last year. This is going to be the best defense in the league if this were to happen. Going to the New York Giants at pick 36. I have them taking Devin Duvernay out of Texas. And this guy, he just is a fast guy. He's 4.39. But the thing with him is he is an incredibly productive guy. 129 targets, 1,500 yards, and 3 drops. For a guy that's speedy, having great hands, great route running, very crafty out of the slot position, he is productive, and he is a great, great player. And I think that getting more help for Daniel Jones next to Darius Slade, who was a great pick out of Auburn last year, is going to create a very fun-to-watch offense. Going to Detroit, I have them picking A.J. Epinesa. And A.J. Epinesa is a great, great player. And I think that this is his floor. This is the lowest he can go. But he is so unathletic. I don't see him being the first-round talent. But his technique and his ability to get production is something that reminds me of Trey Flowers, his teammate to be if he were to actually be drafted this spot. I think Epinesa, in this scheme with Matt Patricia, is going to be a very effective player. Going on to Carolina, I've been replacing Try Turner or just starting out at center. I'm taking Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. Someone who's going to immediately protect Teddy Bridgewater, who needs more time to throw because he is not the quickest decision maker as we saw last year. But when he does have time, he's a very capable and competent quarterback. Moving on to Miami, I'm taking Chris Fulton out of LSU. I have him as a first-round graded player. He's a phenomenal player. He was injured last year with an ankle injury he suffered against Texas, but in 2018 he was phenomenal. I think that drafting him at 39 will create the best secondary in the division or in the league with his future teammates Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, rivaling that of the Patriots, which will be great for this team, building that defense for Brian Flores, for them to eventually open the window next year, hopefully with a Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence pick. And going to pick 40, I have the Houston Texans selecting Christian Fulton out of LSU. Grant Delpit out of LSU, back-to-back LSU picks. The thing with Grant Delpit is he is a terrible tackler. 36 missed tackles in his career, and sometimes you just wonder if he really wants to get the ball. He is great in coverage, and he has great talent to be a Jamal Adams type player, but I question his tackling ability and his work ethic. And going to a team that needs safety help and just help in general in the defense is going to be great value for Texas. Going on to pick 41, I have Jordan Brooks going to the Cleveland Browns. After the loss of Joe Schobert, getting a ferocious inside linebacker who's great against the run to help slow down a Lamar Jackson-led team, or Joe Mixon against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that drafting a run-first guy like Jordan Brooks is going to be a great, great pick for them because he is ferocious and will complete a great defense that Cleveland has built up over the last couple of years in the draft. Going to Jacksonville, I've been replacing Jalen Ramsey or A.J. Bouye or whoever they traded away because they lost so much on the defense with Bryce Hall. He suffered a bad leg injury this year, but in 2018, he was the most productive corner. He can play great in his zone press system, and in a cover 3 system like Jacksonville runs, I think that he can be a very productive player. I think that he, with his injury concerns, being slept on a lot, and going at 42 would be a great pick for the Jaguars. I pick 43 of the Chicago Bears, selecting their first pick with Cam Akers. He was productive with the worst offensive line in the entire college football last year at Florida State. And if you look at his highlights and stats in college, it is incredible what he has done. Cam Akers is an incredible 5-star prospect. I think that he should be much higher than this, but just the value of running back position is just very low. I think he's an immediately 1,000-down running back, and alongside Tariq Cohen and their draft pick last year, David Montgomery, who I was high on, who did not have a great year, having a three-headed monster back there would be great for Chicago because they don't have any glaring needs outside of that. If I was them, I'd argue they needed a quarterback because I'm not a big believer in Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky. But helping that offense with an incredible run game is going to be lethal. And here's a controversial pick. You'll be like, he's wearing a Saints hoodie. He's letting Henry Ruggs fall to his team. But I'm just adamant against the speed receiver. there was not a single player that ran under 4.35 that had 1,000 yards last year. All the top receivers are in the 4.4s or high 4.3s or in the 4.5s. Fast receivers are, you need one team, every team needs one fast guy to stretch the field. But I much would prefer a guy in the slot or a big guy on the outside. I'm just not a fan of the speed receiver, and I think that they have a huge injury concern, and people are just trying to chase what worked last year and what worked before and chasing the trend with Tyreek Hill. So I don't think Henry Ruggs is that great of a prospect, but New Orleans, who needs a deep threat after the loss of Ted Ginn, is going to have a great fit with Henry Ruggs, adding to that great receiving core they just bolstered with Emmanuel Sanders. Going to Tampa Bay again, I'm taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU, a shifty back, a receiving back who most definitely is needed by Tom Brady, because we've seen throughout his career he loves to pass to the running back, like James White, who's been one of the best receiving backs in recent memory, because Tom Brady loves throwing to him. And I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's shifty, who does not like getting tackled, is going to be a great fit in Tampa Bay and will create a very lethal, and potent offense. Going to Denver at 46, and they need to replace Isaac Yiadom at cornerback position. That's why I'm taking Jalen Johnson. He's a first-round graded corner, and he's got great instincts. That Utah defense was loaded last year, and he is just a great prospect. Going to pick 47, Atlanta is going to jump on that cornerback trend and take Noah Igbinoghene out of Auburn. Noah Igbinoghene is a raw prospect, only 20 years old, but he's got all the physical gifts to be a great corner. He's gone against some of the best prospects in the SEC, and he's shown great tenacity, great tackling ability, and has all the intangibles to be a great cornerback, but he's very raw. Opposite Kendall Sheffield and Isaiah Oliver, I think that Atlanta's building very young secondary here. Going to Indianapolis, and I'm taking Kenny Robinson out of the XFL. This guy was a first-round draft pick out of West Virginia before he transferred or got suspended and went to the XFL. But people are going to be sleeping on him because people don't want to draft a guy out of the XFL. And I think that Kenny Robinson is a great talent, is proven, and I think that going to Indianapolis, who definitely needs corner because Xavier Rhodes, the roads are always open against him. And Rocky Sin, who they had a second-round pick on last year, was not that great in his first year. So getting a third corner to pair with Kenny Moore will be a great pick for Indianapolis. Going to Pittsburgh, I'm taking the meanest running back in A.J. Dillon out of Boston College. This man has quads like Saquon and runs over people. If you want to look at one of the most meanest highlights of all time, just look at him against Louisville. He picks up one defender, throws him to the side, and runs for 75 yards. He's got the speed to run away from the defense and maximize his plays, and he can just smash up the middle every time for 4 yards. He didn't have the great offensive line with Boston College, but he is a power back, and in Pittsburgh alongside James Conner will be very valuable to Big Ben. Going on to pick 50, I have Chicago going back and adding to their offense, pairing Allen Robinson with Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is an incredible route runner. It's one of the only players to have a phenomenal game, posting 70 yards and 2 touchdowns against Derrick Stingley. He looked great against LSU. He's a crafty route runner and has seen great corners in practice every day in C.J. Henderson and in the SEC with Chris Fulton and Derrick Stingley. I think that Van Jefferson's route running makes him a great prospect and a certified steal. Going to Dallas, I've been taking a safety in Kyle Duggar out of Lenoir-Rhyne. He is raw, he is physical, and he is athletic. Going to Dallas, filling that hole they have there, completing their defense is going to be great for them. Dallas knocked it out of the park with their first 2 picks here. Going to LA Rams, they have been taking any offensive lineman they can. So they're taking St. John's Ben Barks, who looked great at the Senior Bowl. He is a great prospect, and I think that he needs to go to the Rams or any offensive lineman because they need help there badly. Going on to the Philadelphia Eagles again, I have them getting Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. Yetur Gross-Matos is a very good player, super athletic with high upside, but you don't know what you're going to get year one, and they need to help on the defensive line or just a second wave of defensive line because Derek Barnett wasn't the prospect they thought he would be. I could see them taking a linebacker here, but I didn't value a guy like Akeem Davis-Gaither enough to take with the 53 pick. Going to Buffalo, I've been taking Jonah Jackson, a great offensive guard who's going to come in immediately like an Elgin Jenkins last year, whose great balance is going to help solidify this offensive line because Quentin Spain last year was not the greatest player. This is one of the only needs this team has, so solidifying their offensive line will be great for Buffalo and really, really help the run game with Derrick Motor Stingley or with Josh Allen, who is a great runner himself. Going to Baltimore, I'm taking their perfect fit. I love T. Higgins to Baltimore. A big guy, a big target for Lamar Jackson. He's going to be perfect in this offense. I absolutely love this pick. If this happened in real life, I'd be over the moon because this is a great pick, and he would be perfect in that Baltimore offense. He would be a good run blocker on the outside, and he'd be able to get that big body guy that Lamar Jackson needs because right now his best receiver is a speed guy out of Oklahoma and Marquise Brown. Going to pick 56, the Miami Dolphins going back to defense and Alex Highsmith. And I think that he's a very, very underrated prospect coming out of Charlotte. And I think that he, learning new moves with the new coach last year, getting 16 sacks is a very impressive prospect. I think that he's raw enough and has the physical skills to be a great defender in this league. Going to Houston, we have A.J. Terrell. Many people have this guy as a first-round pick, but I've just got a lot of questions watching his tape. He's very, very productive. He didn't look that bad against LSU, which people say he got burned by Jamar Chase. He was right there every time, but he just needs to get better at the catch point. In the NFL, being not great at the catch point is going to be a huge flaw. That's why I have him falling to 57. Going to Houston, who needs a corner badly. With pick 58, I have Minnesota addressing their receiver need that got left by Stephon Diggs with Brandon Ayuk, a crafty after-the-catch guy out of Arizona State. And Arizona State does love to force feed their number one receiver, but he is a great player. I think that he can be a great fit in this offense alongside Adam Thielen, Irv Smith, and Kyle Rudolph. Going to Seattle Seahawks, I'm going back to the offensive tackle because if it doesn't work the first time, you've got another player who's a great physical prospect in Matt Peart out of Penn State, who has great length and has the most length out of any offensive tackle prospect in this draft, and has the physical tools to be a great offensive tackle. Out of this draft, I have been taking two tackles, who one of them is guaranteed to be a great tackle in this league. Then I have Baltimore pick 60 going back and taking Zach Bond, who was another tweener prospect like Jalen Ferguson last year, who they picked out of Louisiana Tech, who they converted to outside linebacker. But Zach Bond, who can play both outside and edge, is going to be perfect in a Baltimore versatile defense where they love to sit back and blitz players and drop them back into coverage. That versatility is going to be very, very valuable to this defense. Going to Tennessee, I have them taking J.K. Dobbins. I don't know how much longer they can keep Derrick Henry or how much left he's got in the tank because he has been run down. He is a monster, absolute beast. And getting a receiving back that can pair with him, a little partner in crime for a couple of years, will be great for Tennessee, and this offense with Tyler Johnson and J.K. Dobbins will be a great partnership. Going to Green Bay, I had them taking the perfect fit for them, Michael Pittman Jr. They need a big body guy that can get catches because they miss Jordy Nelson, who can get that contested catch. Devontae Adams is a great route runner, but he doesn't have that contested catch ability that Michael Pittman has. This would be a dream pick for the Green Bay Packers. Moving on to Kansas City Chiefs, I have them taking cornerback Trevon Diggs because they need a quarterback desperately. When Rashad Breeland is your number one corner, you have a problem. And taking Trevon Diggs, who does have the ability to be a great NFL cornerback, could be a great pick here. Our problem is he's going to get penalized a lot more in the NFL because he's a very physical corner, and he can get burnt sometimes. Going to Seattle, I'm taking a safety in Julian Blackmon to pair with the guy they traded for last season out of Detroit, whose name is slipping and eluding me right now. But I will get it eventually because I like Julian Blackmon a lot. If you ask guys on Utah, they'll say that he was the second best defender besides Jalen Johnson last year. And without injury, with his injury, the Utah team fell apart after him losing to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. Julian Blackmon's a valuable defender. and he will be great for this team. And I think that having him will be a very, very valuable asset. And with the pass-happy offense with Kyler Murray in the same division, and with Jared Goff, they're going to need someone like him. And I think that he can fill a valuable hole in this team because Quandre Diggs is a good free safety, but they need someone to replace Dexter McDougal. Going on to the third round, we have the Cincinnati Bengals getting another weapon for Joe Burrow. 3 picks, all offense. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the kid with the 45-inch vertical. This kid is a certified steal. I love what he can do. He's got great tools to be a great receiver. He's a little bit more polished, but this is a guy Joe Burrow I think can work with. I think will really thrive with Zach Taylor in this offense. Going on to pick 66, I have Washington Redskins selecting the first tight end, Adam Troutman. The thing with the tight end class is that it's not great, but there are some good players. I think Adam Troutman out of Dayton is a great prospect. He's a really good receiver, and I think that he can be great replacing Jordan Reed, who had a lot of concussion issues. Going to Detroit, I've been taking Cam Dancer at Mississippi State, and you don't know what you're getting out of him because he looked like a lanky quarter on tape, but when he was measured, his length was not that impressive. He ran a 4.68 at the combine, but at his virtual pro day, he ran a 4.38. So he has the ability to shut down corners because he played really well in the SEC. He was a very solid cornerback, but having speed at 4.68, if you want to believe that, is very, very poor. But pairing him with Amani Oruwariye will be a great pick for this Detroit defense, and I think that Matt Patricia can do a very good job with him. Going to the New York Jets, I'm taking Justin Madubuike out of Texas A&M to pair with Quentin Williams of last year because they need help on this defense badly, and Justin Madubuike is a great prospect. I think that he can come in and make immediate impact and help Quentin Williams and relieve that pressure that he has on him. Going to Carolina, and they need a tight end. My boy Teddy needs a safety valve, and Thad Moss is definitely that. He's a great run blocker. He's a good receiver. I think that he has great hands. I don't know why people are sleeping on him. He's got great genes, being the son of Randy Moss, and he's a really good blocker. I think that Carolina is going to be replacing Greg Olsen with a great prospect. I think he is another certified steal. Going to Miami, I've been taking Chase Claypool to pair with Devontae Parker, 2 big, fast, and great, crazy athletic guys. This would be a great pairing. I think that Chase Claypool can be a great partner in crime. Going to the Chargers, I've taken a phenomenal prospect out of Southern Illinois and Jeremy Chin. Playing him at outside linebacker is going to complete this athletic freak defense, which will be absolutely incredible. I think that getting Jeremy Chin in the third round would be an absolute steal. I think that the only question with him is that his competition level is very poor, and you haven't seen him against a top-level competition. But Jeremy Chin in this defense should thrive with versatility. Playing safeties at linebacker will be perfect. He'll be a great fit in the Chargers system, and he will be great there. Going to Arizona, I've been taking Julian Okwara, the athletic defensive end, out of Notre Dame. And there's some problems with him because he's got the great ability and the great athleticism, but he doesn't have the great production that goes alongside of that. And that's a little concerning for me, like a guy like Rashawn Gary last year. So I am falling to the third round for that reason, but going to Arizona, partnering him with Chandler Jones will be a great fit. And I think that Chandler Jones, Julian Okwara, and obviously Javon Kinlaw will be ferocious, turning this defensive line from one of the worst in the league to one of the best, and hopefully get Chandler Jones some recognition he finally deserves. Going to Jacksonville at pick 73 and taking Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma. This guy's a very, very fast, great first step defensive tackle. I think that going to a team to pair alongside Bryant that they drafted 2 years ago at defensive tackle will be great because they need some help because they are going to trade Yannick Ngakoue, or at least they need to. So replacing his production with Neville Gallimore will hopefully bring Jacksonville back, but they dismantled that defense completely. Going to Cleveland, I've been finally addressing that offensive tackle need with Lucas Niang. I think he can immediately come in and replace Greg Robinson at left tackle, and form a pretty solid tackle partnership with Jack Conklin. I think that an athletic tackle like him falling to 74 will be a dream pick for Cleveland. Going to Indianapolis, I'm thinking KJ Hamler to partner with Paris Campbell. I don't know how great this wide receiver partnership will be, but Philip Rivers will have a great options with Paris Campbell, T.Y. Hilton, KJ Hamler, and Zach Pascal. Going to pick 76, I have Tampa Bay selecting Amik Robertson, the best slot corner in this draft. Absolute certified steal here. I think Amik out of Louisiana Tech is going to be one of the best players in this draft, because slot corner is incredibly valuable because teams run a lot of 2x1 personnel, trips, anything but 3 receivers. I think that getting him in a division that's very slot heavy with Michael Thomas's of the world, DJ Moore's, Calvin Ridley's, will be incredibly important for this team, whose secondary is much improved with the drafting of Jamel Dean last year. I think that this team, with Amik Robertson, becomes very complete and becomes an immediate Super Bowl contender. Going to Denver, I've been taking the hulking offensive guard Kevin Dawson out of Louisiana Lafayette. He and Robert Hunt were absolutely incredible last year. 2 of the best offensive line prospects in the same team. I think that Denver fills a pressing need and gets a great pick for their dual-headed monster in Philip Lindsay and their new signing in Melvin Gordon. Going to Atlanta at 78, I'm taking Zach Moss, one of the sleepers at running back. He's a very ferocious running back who's very slept on. I think he at Utah is absolutely incredible. He's 3 years for 1,000 yards. I think he's incredibly productive, and he's very fun to watch on film. Going to the Jets, I've been taking Matt Hennessy out of Temple. I think he's one of the better center prospects in this draft. He's my center number 3, tied to Cushenberry and Ruiz. And he's a very solid player. I think that they did sign McGovern, but I think that he could either slide at guard or McGovern could slide at guard and help Sam Darnold because he needs all the help he can get. And going to the Las Vegas Raiders, they got back-to-back picks. DeAndre Swift to partner with Josh Jacobs, they drafted last year, and Akeem Davis-Gaither, the App State linebacker. I think Akeem Davis-Gaither is a certified steal, but my problem with Swift, people have him as the running back 1 in this class, but he's not the best receiving back. He's not going to get you 3 yards off the middle. I just don't see what's great about his game. If he's got 20 yards on the table or a touchdown, he's going to get that 20 yards. He's not going to capitalize on big holes. I think that he's going to be a great complementary back rather than a primary back. Going to Dallas, I've got them taking Cole Kmet because Blake Jarwin is not the answer, and Dak Prescott with a tight end that's capable. I think that Cole Kmet, the Notre Dame tight end, will be a great fit here. Going to the Denver Broncos, I'm taking Bradley Anai, the edge defender out of Utah, who's an absolute beast. Partnering him with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, I think he'll be very important because having a true defensive end besides 2 outside linebackers is going to solidify him because he can play inside and partner with Jarrell Casey to form a great defensive line. Going to the Rams, I'm taking Ezra Cleveland, the Boise State tackle, because they need offensive line help. They were the worst offensive line last year, and they've got no sign of getting better because their best tackle or best offensive line player, Andrew Whitworth, is not getting any younger. So getting 2 tackles in this class could be an absolute win for the Rams. Going to Detroit, I'm taking Damian Lewis, the people mover from LSU. I think he's a really good player, and going to Detroit can really help carry on Johnson in this run game and hopefully protect Matt Stafford, who definitely needs the help. Going to pick 86, I have a new partner in crime for Ed Oliver and Ross Blacklock going to Buffalo Bills. Ross Blacklock at TCU is a great player. I think that replacing Star Lulelele, one of their weak spots on the defense, is going to be a great fit for them. I think that this is a perfect fit. I think that the scheme that Sean McDermott runs is going to be perfect for his athletic talents. And partnering with a great athletic tackle in Ed Oliver, that drafted at 7 last year, would be a great fit. At 87, I have New England taking the UCLA slot corner, Darnay Holmes. He's got great mentality. He's a great person. And partnering with J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore, I think that New England, who values secondary, is going to go back to the well and get another great defensive prospect. Indianapolis is going to need to replace Jabal Sheard. So I'm taking Marlon Davidson, the defensive end turned defensive tackle out of Auburn. I think he's got the versatility that their defensive Matt Eberflus is going to value, even though he's a very bland and vanilla defensive coordinator. I think that he on the defensive line is going to be a very, very valuable asset. Going to pick 89, I have Minnesota going to the defensive line to replace Everson Griffin with Terrell Lewis out of Alabama to partner with Daniil Hunter. I think this is going to form a very good defensive line and address one of the key holes on that defense. Moving to Houston, I have them taking Kenny Willix out of Michigan State, who is going to be a very solid player coming out immediately. It's going to be a solid average player for his entire career. Getting him in the third round is going to be a great pick. I Las Vegas taking Troy Dye out of Oregon, who's a very good linebacker. And although they did sign Corey Littleton, they can definitely improve. And going back to the defense is going to be very important for Las Vegas, which was very poor last year. And in the division with the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs, defense is a priority. Going to Baltimore, I am taking a very Baltimore pick, more versatility, Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. Memphis has a lot of great players coming out recently. They've got Tony Pollard, Darrell Henderson. They got, obviously, Antonio Gibson and Gainwell, who's a Heisman prospect last year. I think they're getting Gibson, who's either a receiver or running back, but getting him in an offense that's very close to line of scrimmage, which is going to be very important for Baltimore. This should be an absolute perfect team fit. Going to Tennessee, out of them replacing Jarrell Casey with Rashad Lawrence out of LSU. Against teams like Alabama, he really stuck out. I've been able to get pressure on Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's a really impressive prospect, but he did have a lot of talent around him, which is one of his concerns. But I don't think that's a real issue because going and partnering with Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simon, who they drafted last year, is going to be a very, very good prospect for them. Going to Green Bay, I'm drafting a developmental quarterback in Jacob Eason. He's got the arm strength and the talent to be a good quarterback, but sitting behind Aaron Rodgers will be perfect for him. I think that Jacob Eason might threaten Rodgers a little bit because I don't know how he'll take to an actual competent backup, because the best he's had was probably Deshaun Kaiser or Brett Hundley. So getting an actual backup quarterback who could eventually succeed Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and Jacob Eason in the third round is going to be a great pick. Going to Denver, I have them taking Logan Wilson, the linebacker of Wyoming. I think he's a very promising prospect, and I think that when I was watching Jordan Love, he really stuck out to me as a very competent player. Going to Kansas City, I'm taking Anthony McFarland, the running back out of Maryland. I think McFarland's a very shifty running back who can be very crafty and will be very valuable in this offense because their leading running back last year was Damian Williams, who had 490 yards, and 90 of which came off one run where Tyreek Hill outshadowed him against Minnesota. Then we go to Cleveland, taking Tyler Badotze out of Wisconsin. He was a very good player, opening up holes for Jonathan Taylor, and going to Cleveland and sitting behind J.C. Treader or maybe moving to the offensive guard will be very good, and I think that he can become an immediate starter on that offensive line, very competent player. Going to New England, I'm taking Bryson Hopkins, the tight end out of Purdue, because they definitely need tight end help, because last year they had to resort to signing 38-year-old Ben Watson again, and I think that getting an actual solid tight end who can develop into the future for Jarrett Stidham or whatever quarterback they choose to have, or Tua Tagovailoa in this case, will be a very, very valuable asset because we saw how good Irv Smith Jr. was with Tua. Going to the Giants, I'm taking Raekwon Davis out of Alabama, a very solid interior defensive lineman who can come in and partner with Dalvin Tomlinson, who's a solid defensive tackle but not great. Partnering him with Raekwon Davis will be an immediate impact and hopefully form a formidable defensive line. Going to New England, I've been taking Jalen Reagor, a speed receiver who should help with Tua Tagovailoa, who's a great deep threat. So partnering their skill sets together will be a very, 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 very successful match. Although I don't like speed receivers, having a deep threat for Tua will be a great, great partnership. Going to Seattle, I have them taking yet another tackle because they need the help, because Russell Wilson is finally going to be able to sit back in the pocket and just have some fun, creating some havoc with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I think that this is a complete roster, so just going all out and tackle makes pretty much good sense for me. Going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have them taking quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And I've been very, very low on Jalen Hurts when he was at Alabama. I thought he wasn't a very capable or competent quarterback there, but he's a great leader. He's very athletic. He's a running back playing quarterback. Should have gone to Georgia Tech. But he has the ability to become an NFL quarterback, and he's got the work ethic and mentality to do so. I think going to an environment like Pittsburgh where he can sit behind Big Ben would be ideal for him. Going to Philadelphia, they need to take a backup quarterback because we saw they could not rely on a 38-year-old Luke McCown who was playing off no ACL, who tore that in the game against Seattle. They need to have a quarterback that can come in, and who better than Anthony Gordon, who could become a Gardner Minshew. Yes, I know they go into the same school, but they're very similar players coming out, and I think people will actually believe in the air raid as an effective way, or as an actual effective way for quarterbacks to come out. Because people used to diss on quarterbacks with big stats coming out of air raid, just saying, oh, it's just an air raid prospect. I think Gardner Minshew can actually change that, and Anthony Gordon will be a capable backup for Carson Wentz. Going to the Rams, I'm taking defensive lineman Mekhi Futu out of Utah. Another absolute man out of that Utah defense. And partnering with Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers will actually help replace that defense after the loss of blanking on his name. I said him earlier, the guy that went to the Falcons. Going to the Minnesota Vikings, I'm taking Bravion Roy out of Baylor. Another defensive interior prospect. You can't go wrong taking one, so take another. They don't have many flaws on this team. And that's after already addressing corner, receiver, and offensive guard. I think taking another defensive lineman makes sense. Best player available. Going to the last pick, Baltimore, taking Michael Onyenwegwu. Michael Onyenwegwu is a good guard out of Michigan, and I think will help solidify this offensive line after the retirement of Mark Yanda. And that was an hour 3-round mock draft. Sorry, this is my first solo show, so pretty rough, but we got through it. Hour of picks. We'll see how wrong I was, see how right I was, but make sure to tell me where I'm wrong so I can get better as an evaluator. See you next time. I'm Wade Mizel. Take care.